Hello viewer, welcome to today's episode of Earth Talk Show. Today we are having a beautiful topic. We will be discussing about parenting. We have different types of parents and all of them together, we are going to discuss them. We have beautiful guests in the house and I am kindly going to invite them to introduce themselves. I am your host, Lucy Wanza Karibu. Welcome to the show. Kindly introduce yourself from the farthest end.
Thank you, Lucy, for having me. And hello, viewers. Doreen Bai is my name, a mental health practitioner at Kenyatta National Hospital. And I'm glad to be here today discussing the topic on parenting. Thank you.
Welcome so much, Doreen.
Hello, viewers. My name is Masi Kibe. I'm a counseling psychologist at the Kenya Institute of Professional Counselors. Thank you for having me, Lucy.
Welcome, Masi, once again in the show. Yes, we are talking about parenting. Many people are parents, many people are being under parents. And today we would like to see how it goes being a parent and how it goes being parented to by someone. We would like to start by introducing what parenting is and the different types of parents. I would like to invite Doreen to start for us.
Thank you. And I'll start by defining what is parenting. And I'll say that this is the activity that each parent engage in, whereby one looking to giving that physical, social, intellectual, the spiritual support that is needed to a child, or maybe I call an infant, all the way to the adulthood. Mm-hmm. And I must say that parenting is a tough work, but it's most rewarding and fulfilling.
Yes.
And there is no parent who can say they are really, acquitted for that work or they really fit. But either way, we parent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy. Different types of parents. If you could highlight for people to understand that one does not have to give birth to you to be your parent.
Different types of parents. I think we can look at the different types of parenting styles or what we call parents. There are those parents who become authoritative parents. And these are the parents who, they are very strict and they want to dictate each and everything their child does. So in such an instance, you find that a child does not have the autonomy of deciding what is right or what is good for them. And these kids grow up to be a bit rigid and a bit aggressive because now they have been brought up in a situation by it was either yes from the parent or a no. Then we also have the authoritative ones. Authoritative ones are these firm parents, and I think these are the parents who produce the best type of kids because although they put rules and regulations firmly and they dictate this is how it's going to be done, and if it is not done this way, then now we are looking at some repercussion or reward, either a punishment or a positive reward like a gift or something. And such parents try to bring up children who are more, I would say they are not entitled, but children who are more dedicated to making their own decisions and responsible because they understand for every action there is a consequence. Then we come to other types of parents who are like permissive. They are there, yes, they provide nurturing, they are very good at being there for their children, but then they are not firm. The child gets away with everything. Those are the people we call spoiled brats. The babies become spoiled brats. It's either my way or not my way because the parent has not been able to tell this child firmly, no, you cannot have this. And sometimes also it becomes as a form of complimenting on the shortcomings of a parent in assuming that you're not always there for your child, and you feel that for me to make up for this absence that I've not been providing for this child, then maybe I always need to dance to the tune of the child.
Yes.
So, and apart from now that, we also have parents who are now, we are having a new norm of parenting, which is co-parenting. Initially in our African setup, I would say, we did not have separation as rampant as it is, or divorce cases. So you find that parents have come up with a new norm of parenting, whereby we are saying we're not living in the same house, but we can co-parent. It's our child, we can co-parent. So you decide which weekends comes, the father has a child, or the mother has a child, who pays this, who does this for the child. And it's also a very difficult form of parenting because discipline on the part of the parent, I would say, is very important. Because assuming a child is with you, Lucy, and you really don't like the father, you really have to restrain yourself from talking bad against the father of the child when that child is with you. Because you see, now here you're trying to create strike a balance whereby it is not possible that the mother and the father live in the same house, but we can provide that father figure and mother figure, but at different intervals.
Yes.
So support and discipline and consistency between the two people is very, very important.
Yes.
So those, I think, are the types of parents that we look up to. And there are those, I think, I would say dictatorship parents who just want to dictate. They fall more or less like authoritarian parents. So I think those are the types of parents that we look up into society. They manifest in one way or another. There are some who combine. There are some who are just one type. But either way, it's parenting. As she said, we are not taught. Some people just find themselves. How you find yourself in which category, and it depends on how you're parenting
Yeah,
your
because
child.
that was my next question.
Yes.
As you were speaking, I was asking myself, then what determines the type of parent that I am or that she is?
Okay.
Yes, Doreen, what will make me be dictator?
Awesome.
Type of a parent. The other one is permissive. Yes.
Great. And I want to appreciate Mercy for articulating very well the 4 styles. We know there are
Yes.
many parenting styles, but we're limiting it to the 4 styles: authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, co-parent, and also maybe uninvolved, because we find those people who don't care and they're not there. Get all the gifts that you want, get all the space that you want. And getting to the question that you're asking, what lead to this kind of parenting style? And I want to say that most of our parenting styles are sometimes directed by even the hangovers from our upbringing, how we were brought up. And maybe like a style of, let me talk of permissive. You know, you are allowing, and you're like, staki mtoto wangu apitie yale nilipitia.
Yes, yes.
And you're overcompensating. And you forget, and you want, like, kids will always be kids. Why should we come up with rules? Why should we come up with this kind of doing things? Why should we enforce this? And they won't be kids forever. So you see, this could be a parent who was brought up from that background of they went through so much in life. And they are carrying these hangovers along the way. And there is a lot of unlearning that should take place when it comes to parenting. And also falling back to the biblical perspective, we find many talk of spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yes.
And someone think the only way that I should go with, beat. And sometimes we think beating is disciplining, which is not, as we are going to see as we engage in this conversation.
Yes.
But I want to say, most of the time you find, you know, our past experiences when I was growing up, direct or indicates more on how I'm going to parent my children. And as Mercy said, authoritative is the best style because you're able to allow the child.
Yes.
The child needs are felt. They are hard. But you see, like an authoritarian it's either my way or the highway.
Yes.
If it's not, we don't have anything to bargain here. So the authoritative kind of a parent who is, you know, allowing this person to be able to raise the issue to do with discipline and supporting them in a way they can enforce the rules and engaging them. That is the best style. But at the same time, you find the parents, they're able to get all these styles. You can be able to do what we call a brunch. You know, like you can do this is a breakfast, lunch, and you know, you want to do
Put
it
them
together.
together.
You can find, it is true, it's only worst when it gets to the extreme. But all I want to say is that parents, we are not taking you through a guilt trip because you can feel like what is all happening. But every one of us, if you are willing, we can be able to get to this point of being an authoritative, engaging your child. Some might ask, ni nani alituhuzisha sisi? Si ulikuwa unagonga unaambiwa fanya hivi ama uende ukoteke nje, you know, all those things.
Yes.
But times are changing. It's the high time also to be able to be people who are willing to unlearn, to relearn other things. Because, you know, behavior is something that we keep on, you know, unlearning and learning afresh.
So Doreen, is it possible to change from one parenting style to another?
Yes, it is. And I'm saying, out of all these parenting styles, I'll go back to an authoritative. Why? Because we find most of the time, and I'm sure we're getting there, you find the way children react to situation is as a result. Like, just as she mentioned, about the authoritarian, it's a strict parenting and makes these children to even lie, because if I know I'm going to be punished, because authoritarian is obedience, obey to the rules that are set. We are not negotiating anything.
Yes, yes.
So the child become very fearful. So the only way is that I want to lie, because if I say I didn't do this, and this is what was expected of me, then I'll be punished. I'll be beaten up. Kiboko, nitawekelewa. So the best thing is, I'll lie. And the other thing, the authoritarian deals with the self-esteem of a child. So if a parent doesn't want to change, those are now the consequences that comes in way later. But you see, this authoritative, this is a well-balanced child who knows, I have a say, we can engage. And these are some of the people you find even in the marketplace. They are able to take up the roles of leadership. But the authoritarian child, they are always timid, they are fearful, because what they have learned is aggression. That's what they produce. And these are the people that even bully others in school. So it is very possible to change, but the thing is to get to know what we call insight, because change can only happen if you have insight.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Viewer, this is GBS TV Africa. You're watching Health Talk Show. We're going to continue after the break.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back, viewer. We are discussing about parenting, and we've had something very special from our guests, that a parent has to get insight for him or her to change from a bad parenting style to a good parenting style. Again, back to our guests, I would like to go to Mercy. Mercy, we have different ages of children. And parents have to be changing with the same way the age of a child is changing. At the same time, a parent might be having an 8-year-old child, 15-year-old, 3-year-old, one parent for 3 children. This to me looks like a conflict, but as a parent, you have to scheme your way in between. Kindly talk to a parent.
Okay, I don't think there is like skimming your way into parenting, because
Yes.
I feel that, as we have said, and read ground, it's that you just have to choose the type of parenting style that you use for your children. And I will stick to authoritative parenting, because when there are basic rules and regulations that you set
Yes.
within a homestead or a family ground of how you're parenting your children. So when your firstborn, who is 15 years, they know how it goes. This 8-year-old knows how it goes. You'll be surprised, this Karichu one will also come in and start following in the footstep of how you have laid it. Because
Yes.
now this comes in the conflict. If you're saying because you're 15, I'll be a dictator or an authoritarian type of parent, and then because this is a 2-year-old, then I'll be permissive, everything baba shika, but when it comes to the 15, no, you have to do this. You're creating conflict, as you said. So what is important for a parent is to understand this has to be a systematic way of parenting your children. And children are very good learners. They don't question, they don't keep on fighting things. Once they find a system, they follow into it.
Yes.
This is something that may surprise a parent out there. Children love authority. Children love firm parents.
Yes.
Every time you are yes parent, a child will not understand. But every time a child knows my mother is firm, and what they say is final. And then I'll have to prove beyond reasonable doubt as to why I need that. You're not
Yes.
taking them into a dictatorship class or trying to like take them into a law of court to prove your point or
Yes.
anything. But there are some basic things that a parent need to tell the child, because sometimes, let me just use this. Every time you tell your child, a child wants something and you give them. One day you'll not have.
Yes.
And then the next thing, that child in the supermarket starts drawing tantrums. The shame comes to you.
Sure.
And everybody will be saying, look at the kind of parent she is. You see? But every time a child learns that, every time they ask for something, necessarily it doesn't mean they have to get it immediately, although it is there. Then even when you go out in public and you tell that child, fine, I have heard, but can we wait for so-and-so time and then I'll get it back to you? That child will accept. But if you're a permissive parent who is a yes, yes, yes parent, the day you say no and circumstances force you to say no, Lucy, we'll be looking at you amazed. What have you been doing as parenting? Simply because you thought this 3-year-old, they can get away with everything. And then also, it brings in the conflict of where now children start feeling there's some form of favorism with how you're parenting. And I think you have heard, even us growing up, whereby you have heard us complaining, you love her or you love him more than you love me, because at some point, you did not set standard rules. And so who gets away with what and who does not get away with what.
Yes.
So I believe once you choose a form of parenting, it has to be consistent despite the age difference of children, because you see, you're trying to form a system within a homestead that this is the way things are done here.
Yes.
So let's not go in between. And after all, mtoto utazama kisogo cha mamake. Venye utamfunza na utamlea ndivyo atavyokuwa. So let us not bring this at a discrimination between so and so is this age and this age. No. Yeah.
So, Mercy, what you're trying to tell us is that a parent, despite the rules which are set in a family to be followed, and you're not so strict with them. There are times when you can be a bit permissive. A child will ask for something, you just say yes.
By saying that we are being firm with children, we are not saying we are this kind of unmovable, unshakable parents who every time ni stone face kwa mtoto. But then you understand that it means, as she explained, that you are able to hear out a child.
Yes.
As in, you're able to sit down and have a conversation, communication. And during this communication is when you create a very warm environment that your child can trust you. When they're having a problem, they can come and talk to you. And even when you're having dinner, you can joke about issues. And it's just a free mode of parenting.
Yeah.
But what we are saying is, as long as there's this free style of parenting or free environment for people to interact and express their emotions and feelings. But when it comes to discipline, I think that's why we should draw the line.
Okay.
When it comes to discipline now, they know this is how far it goes and this is how far it cannot get.
Yes.
Yes. Because even their talks, their slangs, kids will learn outside there, but they know that slang is not allowed at home.
Yes.
You have to explain where you got it.
Yes.
So that is the kind of parenting that we are talking about. There's a balance. You're not up here and you're not down there. You're in between here, whereby you can be able to juggle in things.
Yes.
Yes.
Every parent outside there is looking for a neighbor's child to be a good child, to be having that good behavior. Doreen, how can we as parents or them as parents reinforce good behavior?
Great, a very interesting question. And before I get there, let me just add something to what Mercy has shared regarding how we take care of these ages. Because like the years you mentioned, we have different categories with different needs.
Yes.
A 2-year-old with 5-year-old and a 8-year-old, they have different needs. And children are psychologists, I say. They are great psychologists. They can be able to look at you and know, this is how I'm going to go about this issue. And taking down all the way from 0 to 1 year, because we usually know the first 6 years of life are very key. And if you're able to take care of that, then the rest of the issues, you know how to juggle between them. And 0 to 1, of course, their need is that they want to feel secure. They want attention, the caregiver. And that's why they will cry when they are hungry, and they want that attention. The attachment theory tells us that if they are ignored at that stage, they will grow with that issue of rejection, and they will know they are rejected. If a child cries and you don't attend to them, that means a lot to them. And you see, that is a formation you're doing all the way from down there.
Yes.
We get to, so if you're able to take care of them, most of the time a parent can get involved by singing to them. They don't know much, singing when they are breastfeeding, babbling words. By the time they are 8, 6, 7, months, they can be able, and you listen to them, attention. You're able to listen to what they are saying. They are not pronouncing words, but they can make some sound. And you're listening. That is active listening, all the way from down there.
Yes.
And this child grows with that board, that my caregiver, my mom, my dad can listen to my voices, sounds that I can make. Get to this age that they call terrible two. I want to say that is not terrible two to a parent who is listening to me out there.
Dangerous tools.
Yes, they are called dangerous tools.
Yes.
Yeah, they are not. What they are doing at this time, I keep on saying every behavior is informed. This person is making some communication. When they're throwing all these tantrums, they are expressing themselves.
Yeah.
They want to see how involved are you. Are you able to sit down with that child and play the toys? Are you able to listen to them as they express with them in the way sometimes they can't understand? Every time they are doing this and that, it's drawing your attention. How attentive are we to these young ones? And they will learn that all the way from down there. And going back to, and moving on to the other ages. And I want to say, as Mercy was putting about setting the ground rules and what should happen, it is also different in various stages. Like for the ones that are between, we talk of 3 and 4, you set rules and say this is it. And in case this is not followed to, you can have what we call timeouts. That you're not going to have this today, you're going to go to that corner. You can create a thing. And if it gets now to like a 8-year-old, this is now a pre-adolescent. And now the teens. You can't set rules without them being engaged. You want to do it together so that they are part of it. You're not the one who is imposing, but you're working together towards this. And this brings me now to that point of how to reinforce the good behavior as a parent. The first thing is role modeling. Monkey see, monkey do. You can't tell your child, hey, respect people. And you don't respect. You talk in front of children, even about your friends, about other parents. You don't show boundaries. So role modeling is very key.
Yes.
Because a child, they take cues all the way from down there. What you give them is what they take. I usually tell people, don't be afraid or don't feel insecure that children are not listening to you. Take heed or be careful, they are watching. Because that is the greatest teacher. You are that epistle. They're able to see and read and say, this is it. So the first thing is role modeling. Beating, well and good, but to what extent? Because people have gotten to a point, nitachapa niondoe foolishness. The scripture says foolishness is tied in the heart of a child. But I say, besides beating, what are you doing? So what? We are making them become so hardened until they don't feel anything. If I take you back in high school, I remember, not high school, or even when we were growing up, tulikuwa tunachapwa mpaka tunafika mahali you become numb.
Yes.
Whether you beat me or not, I don't care. And you develop an attitude. But you can engage in disciplining. Disciplining is not beating. Many people confuse that word. But disciplining is training, instructing a child, showing the way so that that child is able to know. And of course, now the punishment comes in whereby you punish or you reward here and there. But the other thing is, even when that child do a good thing, are we so quick in appreciating that? Because that is a way of reinforcing a good behavior. So are we so quick or we are just waiting for that moment? It is not done. Sasa hii kitanda nasemanga ukiamuka utandike hujatandika leo. But the day they have done it, it should be done immediately to reinforce that.
Yeah.
Wow, it is done. Not until the task has been accomplished. So role modeling is one, disciplining, being there, active listening, the attention, you should be there. And the other thing is appreciate that even as a parent, you are able to make mistakes and be quick even to apologize to that young one. That is still part of role modeling. That helps them to say sorry when they are sorry.
Yes.
But if you become wewe, you don't care much, that is the trait that they pick up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Doreen, for that elaboration. When you were speaking, I was thinking of a friend of mine who one time just realized that from nowhere. What happened? She went somewhere and came late. When she came late, she lost the key. Not that she lost the key, she couldn't find the key to her bedroom. What happened? She had to clear the children from one of their bedrooms to another one, so that she could spend at least somewhere, not on the couch. So she used one of the son's bedroom. Then when she entered the bedroom, she couldn't sleep in that bedroom. It had all funny smells that you could just not want to imagine that it is happening under your roof. Then she was like, I have to do a thorough search to see where are these smells coming from. She was able to find cigarettes, bang, a lot of funny stuffs that she couldn't explain. And she was like, oh my goodness, my status in the society, the name that people call me, now it is in my own house, not outside.
Wow.
Then, if I may ask, how do you cope as a parent? Not disciplining now. It has happened, you don't know for how long, you don't know who caused it. Yes, Mercy.
I'm smiling. Is the son a teenager or a young adult? Because it has to fall under those two categories.
Teenager.
Thank you. I just thought so.
Yes.
Yeah, because now I think you go back first as a parent. Where did you miss it? Where did you go wrong? Because as we are talking, as we are saying, Doreen spoke about being involved as a parent, that attentive parenting. And by attentive parenting, it means your children's business is your business. I heard someone say yesterday that if someone is living under my roof, they live according to my rules.
Yes.
And they do things according to my terms. Not in the sense of that it has to be so, but it means that I have the right to get into that room and search. One of the major challenges parents with teenagers fail, it's because now you see this person has become, I'm saying a person now, she has, it's just that transition from a child, and now they have become teenagers and they're trying to explore themselves. And one of the ways they are very good at this age is now starting to create a wall of privacy, because they feel now they are their own person and they don't have to tell you everything that goes on into their lives. What happens also at this stage, it is when they are experimenting and trying to fit into other different groups. So you find that, for instance, when these boys started smoking or taking bangi or weed or whatever it is because among his peers, this is the habit, or this is the way they try to like affirm who they are or identify themselves, finding an identity using that thing. So can it be a question of low self-esteem, trying to fit into their peers group? Can it be a way of seeking attention to a parent? We had once had a problem whereby a parent was complaining in a school that he noticed the son could smoke weed in his bedroom with the door open. And the parents are in the house. Why? Because you, old man, you have not been noticing me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to smoke this thing in your house.
To capture your attention.
Yes, to capture your attention, because you have drawn so far away from me. I cannot relate to you. So let me do this something that gets your attention. So as I was saying now, the parent needs to go back and ask herself, where did I lose it? When did I stop being in touch? When did my son's bedroom become that private shrine that I cannot get in it now? Simply we know, and we are Africans, simply because now my son has gone through the age transition, especially after class 8. You know, these now have become young men in society after going through circumcision. And we feel we need to accord them that privacy. But at the same time, they are children who need nurturing. They are yet to become mature men who can make decisions and make right choices for their lives. So even you intruding in that privacy once and for all, it is important, as long as you're doing it in a respectful manner. So you cannot be a parent without knowing what is going on in your under your roof.
Yes.
And that is where we are saying now an involvement comes in. Did I provide food? Is there a house help who cooks? Do you have clothes? Is the fridge full? And you have a tablet and a phone with data and Wi-Fi? Fine, I go on. Now, even she should be thanking God that by God's grace, she lost her keys and was able to go in between and find what was happening there. So that is where now we are asking the co-parent, when did you stop being involved? And where, how now do you start? Because now here it is calling even for a point whereby now we are saying there's no really communication between the son and the mother. The son cannot confide in the mother. Now there is that war. So how do you start building this war back again? And penetrating it and saying, now I want to reach out to my son. I want to understand what is happening with him, what drove him to this, and how can we walk out together. The worst thing you can do as a parent is start screaming in that house and throwing things out and telling him you're going to chase him away, because where it was happening, he was still under your roof. So, you need, as she said, accept that you have failed. You're not a mature person. Sometimes, especially in Nairobi, things get out of hand. You find yourself, you don't have that even time for your own self. So when such things happen, then again, now slow down again and come and ask yourself, where did I go wrong? And how can I start again? Because now this child needs not only a counselor or whoever can help them, but even you as a parent, you need now to be thoroughly involved with them and understand what drove them to where they are right now. You cannot make conclusion as to what made him do that. You have to understand his point of view as to why he's doing what he's doing. Then you can walk that journey together.
Wow, Doreen, after break, you are going to tell us how this parent should now start, because he or she may be listening and could be asking him or herself, where do I start? She has to do very key things to help herself as a parent and the child. Viewer, we are in GBS TV Africa. This is Health Talk Show. We are continuing after the break.
Everywhere, GBS.
We are discussing about parenting, very interesting here. Yes, we've realized a parent can be able to come across an healthy behavior. After that, the parent has to do something. Doreen, what can this parent do?
Great, thank you. And I must start by saying, I think we left at a point whereby Mercy, of course, brought up the issue of involvement yet again. And I'm looking at this parent, considering this parent has done everything, getting involved and all that. I want to bring us to a world of a teenager. Let's put the lenses of a teenager for some time. A teenager is now a person who is not getting the role models changes. From now the parents, they have done whatever they were supposed to do, and now their role models becomes their peers.
Yes.
And this makes, I want to, whatever, that kind of a parent to, get to this point so that they can be able to know how to go about it. So this teenager is no longer interested with whatever you say, Lucy. But what matters to this teenager is what the peers are saying. So if a teenager, our peers, are people who are doing drugs, and it looks fashionable, if this teenager is not resilient enough, what is going to happen? They fall into that. But I'm still looking at it this way. A teenager, that is when the hormone is quite excited at this point. So they want to explore their world. They want to be alone. They don't want, some have had before we left, they could write, this room is out of bounds. And and you are like, what? This is my space.
Not
but I want
before
to
you
say,
enter.
yes, this is not a point whereby now you kuja na nguvu zako. Because what you're doing, you are pushing this teenager away. This is a very tricky position because this teenager will either confide in you or they'll find now this is a competitor. Let's do life. Because for them at this point, that's where many parents complain, hawezi akanisikiza tena, because it is an hormone. It is a stage in life. And if it is not navigated in the right way, it will bring a lot, many issues. And the other thing could be now I'm talking of a parent who has been involved in all that, to be able to see this is a stage that has come, the best way is to still keep directing them. If they need that space, allow them.
Yes.
If they feel like today I don't want to eat, don't force them. When they feel hungry, they'll go to that kitchen and cook. Allow them that space, but not forgetting about the confines. To what extent can this happen? Keeping on reminding them. If you have a time on your table that you're able to, evaluate how was the day, keep on reminding this is what we stand for. Even if they do whatever they want to do, this is it. But I'm looking at this other teenager who is having all manner of issues. And the only way to be able to communicate is getting involved in such issues. And those issues, like let's say taking alcohol or substance abuse, the thing is they are also trying to numb their feelings. Remember, this is someone who is having now lots of issues happening, a teenager, and sometimes they are not even understanding themselves. Leave alone you as a parent understanding them. They can't tell themselves where they are. So if this person doesn't have that care, or they have gone through other traumas, because you can find some young people who have gone through traumas because their parents were not there and they didn't know. And this is something, it's a pain that they would want to numb at that point so that they can look okay. Because if they take that drug, they feel high, they're excited, they are above the situation that is pulling them down. So for me, in these two dimensions, a parent, I'll tell that parent, sit back, breathe in and out. This is not a matter of life and death.
Yes.
Because the other thing, parent out there, don't forget yourself. Because we've seen also parents who forget about themselves, they get so entangled and they lose it. They become sick and they cannot be able to support even their children. So sit back, breathe in and out. And after that, have an introspection. How much, to what extent have I been able to engage in this child's life? Appreciate yourself to the extent that you've been able to engage yourself with this teenager. And then after that, try to find out what else can you be able to give to this child. What else, what support? In a sober way. But the thing is, most of the time we are so rushy. We want to take them to the police. We want to have them detained. We want them to do all manner of things. Because that time, we are now operating also in an hormone, adrenaline, that is now elevated, and we are not stable. So the first thing, before you take that action and regret, sit back, do an introspection. Appreciate what you've been able to do, and then you can put down a plan. How do I go about this? Do I need some help? Do I need to link this person to some help? Because we, as parents, we are not monopoly of knowledge, of knowing how to parent. You can reach out. Can I reach out to that other parent? Can I have my, child interact with this other family and see, how can this be sorted? But that can only happen if you're now at your optimum. But if your nini hormones also are there, all of you sasa mko hapa mnafikiana at that point. Yes.
Wow.
And maybe Lucy, before, I think we have been touching so much on teenagers, and I think it's a very sensitive issue about teenagers, because like now, for instance, the case that you have brought out, it's about, she just happened to go there and find, that was just by coincidence. And sometimes you find that even these young people, they are so much wounded, and you may never start to understand where the wound is coming from. We are dealing with mentally disturbed teenagers, and we have not really been able to dissect or understand up to what level. And let me just give a case scenario. A child was sent to me, and when she came, and she really put on a very strong face that I'm okay, but she had just been from the hospital and she had attempted suicide. She had taken a whole tin of some, thank God it was Panadols, because she was like, I took 86 Panadols, and I was like, thank God it was 86 Panadols.
86?
Yes. And then she was like, Mehara, I wouldn't want to do that again. Okay, fine, is that fun? But now, as I spoke to this girl, because she brought in, I was given a drawing book, and that book was depressing. It was a book that was taking from when she was broken, feeling very haggard, to the time she drowned, to the time she started cutting herself, to the time now she even draws a very graphic picture of someone hanging on a rope. And And then at the end of the book, she paints this picture of a heart that is dark on one side and a very small part that is very white. I think you understand this is something very graphic and very meaningful. So I was so when I looked at her and I asked her, among all these drawings, which one have you actualized? She denied. And then I asked her, have you done the cutting? We say don't get shot. But I almost fell off my chair because this hand, it's like a wall of tattoo. The thighs are like a wall of tattoo cuttings. What I'm trying to bring in the notion is the self-harm we are talking about or self-destructive behaviors may not necessarily just be drugs or smoking or an unprotected young teenage sex. It goes deeper because now when you start seeing, even looking into their books, understanding what they are writing, understanding their drawings, self-harm like cutting themselves. We are talking about bad eating behavior, bulimia and anorexia. How are these behaviors now bringing in you as a parent to start asking yourself, what could be the problem with my child? That is another way of looking at these issues. Don't wait to find drugs. They may be doing it on themselves. And what happens in such cases when these children are pushed beyond the wall and they cannot be able to communicate what is happening with them, because it takes a lot of patience to be able to break into this child's mind and understand really what is happening, then that's the only way you can be able to save them before they even now actualize suicide, because suicide is always a very constant thought for them to run away from this pain that they are feeling and they cannot be able to communicate. So what I'm trying to bring in here, don't just look for drugs, look for other hidden behaviors that can be communicating there's a problem in your child and you may not be missing it. Yes. So let's go beyond just the drugs and the friends, but let us now look at the person and the self-inflicting harm that they can be committing unto themselves.
So awesome. And maybe before Lucy, you take up, this is quite interesting. And I love everything about this. I thought also about the environment that you create. For example, this the Kagale, I'm looking at this person after they have done all these things. How do you present to them?
Exactly.
Are you blaming? Are you using the words? Are you insulting them?
Yes.
Are you showing how useless they are? Because at the end of the day, you're pushing them. But we can create an environment of love. It is true they have done this, but there is no one who can't thrive in an environment full of love. We are not saying we are not keen, we are allowing, no. But with that environment of love, that is how you're able to correct even the behavior. And you're able to allow them also to be able to feel, wow, despite all this, I have a safe space that I can be able to confide in.
Because actually you find that all they are looking for is someone to sit, listen to them, and maybe come to their level of understanding. Can we sit on the same table and see things at the same level? That is the only thing these teenagers are looking after. And maybe this will help a parent. Don't be up there, don't be down there. Can you come at the same table, same level? And let's talk things now from this level. And let's see how we can be able to move on from there.
The other thing before I continue to the next aspect, just drawing a point from what you people are saying, is sometimes you realize that a child is undergoing some problem. But instead of the parent going into deep questioning of maybe, or trying to create an environment of talking, you just too defensive. You do not even want to hear. Maybe you just hug the child and the child is not speaking anything, because we have seen it mostly in movies. Instead of the parent allowing the child to speak, you just hug the child. When someone is trying to tell you that the child has a problem, my child is okay. What can you tell such a parent? Doreen?
I'll still go back to the parenting style and the hangovers. I know how we were brought up really limits us a lot. I don't want to see my child going through what I went through. Kamami kababa version, that I will, no, she can't taste the life I tasted. But I want to say, loving your child is not being careless.
Thank you.
And bringing them materials.
And ignorant.
Overwhelming them with items. That is not love. But love is directing them. that you can be able to have that conversation. What led to this? And let me tell you, I started by saying when you were talking, children are psychologists. They can be able to read your mind. They can know where you're going to. They can predict you. Why? Because they know if I tell mommy this, tasema usifanye, but if I do this to mom, promise I'll do da. Sema sawa tu. Permissive parenting, no boundaries. And we allow them to be whatever they want to be. And we don't sort the issue. The thing is, the issue should be sorted in that environment of love. Then let the hug come in later. But don't hug and cover the issue and leave it unattended. That is a time bomb. It is a bottled up thing. Within no time, it will be an explosion. And the time it is exploding, you're not there. That's why some parents wanaambiwa shule, amefanya hivi, mtoto wangu. It can't be. It can't be my child. And that child knows anyways, even if my parent is taught this, hakuna kitu atafanya. So they keep on to that behavior. The thing is, we must be available parents who can reason, but who can be able to listen, but at the same time can be able to direct them in the right way. Not to cover issue, not to mask issues, but to deal with the issue, just as Mercy said, at the level of the understanding.
Yeah.
Piecemeals. Let's not overwhelm them with so many things, but at the level of understanding, let's engage them from that level, even the small one. Because if we don't do that, we are training up, we are railing a tree that we are trying to shape. When it is up there, it will break. It will
Thank you so much, Doreen. Mercy.
Yeah.
Disciplining a child, disciplining an adolescent, a teenager, disciplining as a person who is under you in the house at the level of a parent, whether biological, whether co-parenting, whether adopted, a parent.
Wow, I'll go back to what Doreen said, hangovers. You know, let me just go back a little bit. Parenting is all about primary socialization. We are laying down norms and values to our children that govern us, a child at home, that govern a child outside the home walls, and even wherever they go within the community. Now, I go back to our cultural, African culture, whereby children were disciplined in regards to their age sets and age groups, either by their aunties or their uncle, depending on the ages that they were. And it was a very formative and a very, organized mode of disciplining children. Because you would find that there is a thing or there is a crime that you would do, and as a mother, I could not handle it. I would either pass it to your auntie or to your grandparent, or if at all it is way above me, then we seek the elder of the family who could be the grandfather. He was there. Now we comes to the new age parenting, and it's a very interesting form of parenting. Number one, we are living in a very would I say technologically advanced society, whereby children have access to this information, and sometimes you go and discipline a child and they'll tell you it's my right. Oh boy. In America,
Child abuse.
Thank you. Yeah, they tell you it's child abuse.
Yeah.
In states like the developed world, like States, America, Canada, or UK, you just don't beat a child. We report it to the social warfare, and you can even be, I mean, your children can be taken away. And sometimes I read on social media whereby I see Kenyan parents saying, nilikuwa nangojea ile time tu tutafika JKIA, I unleash the African rat on that, you know, on that child, because now you are free from an environment where you cannot be accused of being abusive. And so now this brings into the concept, why are you disciplining a child in the first place? She spoke very well and said that discipline over 0 to 1 year, how are you disciplining them? You can't discipline them. This is the id talking. We are demanding. But now you come to around 3 years and terrible 2, as we were saying, these are kids, sometimes they understand pain. When I pinch, that child will understand. Every time I do something, there's a reward which is pain. That means there's something that makes me, I do that causes that pain. So for me to avoid the pain, I have to avoid doing that thing. So that is a way of disciplining. Now comes to a child that like a 7-year-old who understands, don't do this, don't do that. That is a child you can beat. You know, my mother was very good at, nitakuchapa leo. mara ya pili nitakuchapa, ya tatu it will land on you because you understand she's trying to reinforce that thing. Whatever you're keeping on doing, I'll have to beat you because it is wrong and you're not understanding. So on a point that it comes to me, I don't want to hear her out, she'll have to beat me to make it deep down in my head that this is wrong, you cannot do it. She feels pain. Now come to a teenager. You're not going to beat some of these people. Your son will be stronger than you. He'll hit you. You know, seriously. Those young men, if they hold your hand like this, you'll not be able to move it. And yes, and you cannot even try beating some of these boys unless their father is there. In case anything goes haywire, the father will come and try to reinstate this guy from beating you. What I'm trying to say is there are different disciplining styles for different ages. A teenager will go back again to the table. These are people who understand what is right, what is wrong. These are people you don't need to beat them because even if you beat them, it does not make sense. Because these are people now who are mature, they can choose between right and wrong and they can understand. Then also as you discipline this child, if it is time out, if it's taking away their gadgets, their phone, if it is saying that you're not going out for this weekend and no more sleepovers, they understand this is what I did and this is the reward I'm getting out of that. Because they can be able to like make a cognitive understanding of what is going on with them at that point and that level. Then now there are these young people like the less 10 years and below up to around 5 years and 2 years. These are people sometimes, although you talk and there's time out at some point, you may be forced to use the cane at some point because that is the language that they understand.
Thank you so much, Lucy.
Yes.
Kindly give us your parting shot.
Before we part, Lucy, let me just say this. That will be my parting shot.
Yes.
In terms of caning,
Yes.
for a parent, don't use slippers.
Thank you.
I discourage that. Get a rod. Let this this child know slippers ni za kuvaliwa, sio za kuchapana. Get a specific rod. Wachana na mwiko. Mwiko ni ya kupika. Because we are introducing them to something different. We are confusing them along the way. And then the other thing is I was listening to about this beating. Let's not do wholesale beatings. You remember our time? But let's be objective in that. That's my parting shot. Parenting is quite and entertaining and a thing that we keep on growing. And God will keep helping us parents to do a great parenting. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Doreen. Mercy, your parting shot.
You should have just let us explore this beating bit because it's very interesting as to why we are beating parents. But before you go into beating a child or disciplining a child, let that child understand what I have done wrong and what the discipline is all about. And not everything that needs instant discipline. Sometimes you need to let things settle so that even when you're disciplining that child, they're able to reflect back and you're also rational about the disciplining. You're not just doing the disciplining out of emotions because you have found things, they are not the way you want it to be. So when it comes to discipline, make your child understand why you're disciplining them and let it not be just wholesale, as she's saying. Let it be something systematic and something reasonable. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you so much, my guest. It was a pleasure having you in the show. This is GBS TV Africa, and we were discussing about parenting. Reinforce negatively, reinforce positively where possible. Have guidelines and rules set in your family. Make sure that they are followed, but don't be rigid like a rock because the children will get used to you. I was your host, Lucy Wanzakariuki. Till next time, bye-bye.